Hello, Alchemist. I'm Jazz. Today's question is, what is your soul asking you to release? We're going to do tea leaves. We have a different teacup for each card. If you've already chosen your card, check the timestamps below. If not, I'm going to give you a closer look. Doorway number 1, Our Lady of Resurrection. Doorway number 2, Our Lady with the moon at her feet. And doorway number 3, Our Lady who prevents interference. Choose your doorway, Alchemist, and let's begin the great work. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. What is your soul asking you to release? You chose Our Lady of Resurrection. We have an owl here, wisdom, goddess Lakshmi. We have this spiral here, like the golden ratio. So the feeling of rising, that resurrection is a rising, not a falling, right? But also the idea of that the path to wholeness is a spiral, not a line, right? And we're going to look at some symbols from the tea leaves in just a moment. So my first impressions from this, the feeling of what you need to release, it has to do with, in order to step into your resurrection or the next step, you're going to have to release something from the old aspects of your life, right? So looks like you got 2 shadow cards today. So maybe some things you really don't want to let go of, but still kind of have a grip on you, if that makes sense. And, you know, there is no shame in it taking a while, right? We can't just like up and, you know, always up and jumping and do everything that we want to do in a second. We don't, you know, it's not a straight line. Look, we have the spiral repeated too. It's not a straight line. You know, healing is not a straight line. You might revisit patterns. You might revisit people. And sometimes you need to do that in order to see what it's time for you to let go, or like see what you have outgrown, right? I always try to close my eyes when I do this so that I don't just grab the green ones or the red ones. I just grab. Okay. So let's take a look at your tea leaves and see what they have to say. Lost quite a few this time. Okay. All right. I see here a person kind of raising their hands up to heaven. Okay. So kind of, but almost like a feeling of surrender. But up here is a phoenix. So the feeling of surrender is almost like surrendering who you were or who you thought you were supposed to be, as an understanding that it was a phase, right? And that life itself is a process of resurrection. It's great that we got a phoenix here with the idea of resurrection. So you are going through a very serious, transformative time in your life. And this is a timeless reading, but when I did this reading, one of the toughest Mercury in retrogrades just finished. And so I think there's a lot of people who will resonate with this idea at this moment in time for sure. Let me see if there's anything else really jumping out at me. Right here is, it's actually like a raccoon. That's interesting. I can see its face, its eyes and everything. A raccoon. So the idea of being clever, being wily, you've used your wit, you've used, you're very resourceful, right? Very resourceful, good at hiding when you need to hide, good at, you know, and so with this resurrection, the idea is that like, I feel like maybe you don't want to hide anymore. You're ready to, you know, surrender is not about giving in to certain people or anything like that. Surrender is about giving up control in areas of your life where the control is actually, it's not autonomy, but it is like a fear reaction or a core wound reaction. So these shadow cards will help us with that. Yeah, you know, I feel like in a lot of ways in your life, you've kind of stayed small and hidden from the sun, right? Covered yourself up, hidden behind a screen, hidden in doom scrolling, just to escape the reality of what you are now overcoming. You felt invisible. This is the transition. Before, you felt invisible, whether it was in a certain relationship, at a job, in any kind of specific situation. But the point is that you felt invisible before. And because of your inner wound, you actually promoted that that invisibility within yourself. And this isn't a rising. This is a burning away of all of the old, because you were afraid that the sun's going to burn you. But when the phoenix burns, it rises from the ashes anew, right? Infinite, gentle, eternity, grace, softness. Infinity feels like quiet, not thunder. Look at all this water imagery. You know, I'm feeling such a peace falling over you. Like where there was once a lot of turmoil, once this sort of resurrection, this transmutation takes place, when you're able to release the old story, when you're able to release the old expectations or the thing that's still tying you to that past life, when you're able to get out of the survival mode represented by the raccoon, when you're able to move past that, there's a peace. Like, I feel like you'll see the world, the universe in a whole new way. You'll be standing more in your power and you'll become invisible to people who don't deserve your light, which is exactly what you want. But there's a scary time when you feel invisible to everybody. But part of that, how much of that was you making yourself invisible because of different fears, because of getting through different situations in your past that made you feel like hiding was the safest bet. Hills, obstacles to overcome. Carrot, opportunity or windfall. Look at that. Just more of a reiteration that this process is a transmutation from feeling like you're always climbing, to understanding the cyclical nature and giving yourself space and forgiveness. Your soul is asking you to release this kind of control. It's asking you to release the parts of your previous, the thing that you are letting go of in your life, the thing that is now belongs to your past. There's pieces of it. You might be carrying them physically by staying in a situation that is not good for you. Or you might be with that raccoon energy. Or it might be that you have let go. You've done the hard work and let go. But now you haven't let go of the pain around it, or you haven't let go of the wound around it inside. And that takes some time. So be gentle with yourself. That feeling of surrender has a sort of a crying out of like, why me feeling to it. But then the phoenix, rises from that. Yeah, the idea of balance and a new start. Look, you can't make this up. A new start, resurrection, starting fresh. Your mind could get flooded with a lot of different ideas about, and this is a lot of times, this kind of energy is oftentimes what prevents us from moving forward and even being playful and whimsical again. It's because we get stuck in our heads about what could be. So every time there's a transition, on the Tree of Life, it's called Da'at. So it is the space between. It's that liminal space in between who you were and who you're becoming. It is the cocoon goop stage in, from a caterpillar to butterfly. In that stage, you see the endless possibilities before you, and it can be overwhelming, and you can get really worried, am I going to choose the right thing? But the idea here is it's encouraging you to move ahead with a heart full of playfulness. We have this energy of playfulness and balance. And it makes me think of, there was a Sylvia Plath poem, and it was something about like, she was standing at a fig tree, and each fig represented a different path she could have taken in life. And because she stood there and refused to pick any of the figs, they all fell to the ground and rotted away. Okay, Sylvia Plath was very dramatic, but she's got some good poetry, and that's the feeling I'm getting from the Seven of Cups. So with this transition, letting go of the past is painful, because when you let that go, you've got to choose the new future, what your resurrection looks like, right? 1515, the big break. Innovation, focus, creation, progress, forward movement, skills, and goals. An opportunity, help, extra cash, or other support is coming your way. So keep going and have fun when performing your tasks. That's very Page of Cups energy, right? The most tremendous success comes from passion. All efforts will be rewarded big time. All right. So that's some really great energy right there. The understanding that a lot of times when you can let go of those old energies, it makes space for new, brighter, more aligned things to happen for you, things that you couldn't even dream possible. So where I came from, you know, I never expected to make it anywhere, make it as anything. And, you know, I kept outgrowing each phase of my life. And every time I did and I was able to let go of things, new amazing things came towards me. There were always challenges. Challenges that, you know, are never going to end. But, you know, life is not, you know, we're taught so much that life is supposed to be you choose your path and then you stick to it. And there is something to be said about discipline, right? But that's not actually how life works. Life is not static. Pushing us into this idea that we're supposed to be static beings just causes inner conflict within us and nothing else, right? And like I said, that doesn't mean, you know, be fickle or be inconstant in your relationships or anything like that. What I'm saying is that we aren't taught how to flow with the inevitable changes of life. And this is your opportunity to let go of something that no longer belongs to you and move forward so that your arms are open, as Jung says, for the things that are even better. Jung says if your arms are closed around what's not meant for you, then it won't be open for what is. And the Sufi mystics talk about this a lot too. So we're going to read a few cards from my own Cosmic Jester deck. This is trickster energy kind of ideas. It cuts right to the chase. I had these on index cards for a while, but I decided to make them into an actual deck. If someone says you're taking this too seriously, they aren't serious about you. So for some of you, this resurrection has to do with letting go of certain people in your life who, or jobs or something that basically treat you like you're too much, or that you're concerned, that they belittle your concerns. Okay. And that's not okay. You know that that's not okay. And so that for some of you, that might be the pattern that you're trying to release carrying forward, but that you might still be holding on to. Because if you get exposed to this kind of thing for a long time, then you start thinking that your regular needs are extreme or weird, but really your needs are your needs are your needs are your needs, right? Another person is either adaptable slash, you know, oh my goodness, sometimes words just float away. Anyway, compatible, there you go. Either they're compatible or adaptable with it, or they aren't. That's information for you. But we've been taught that that is a judgment of self. It is not, right? It's just a misalignment. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your magnificence. The people who harmed you don't deserve to see the phoenix rise, right? You poured in so much. They poured in so little. This job drained you, or and you gave so much, whatever the situation is for you personally, that led to this feeling of Ten of Swords energy lifting up into this resurrection energy. When you release it and you are rising into your magnificence, expect those old things to try and come back into your life. It's not like a test per se from the universe, but it's more like those energies that you were once in frequency with are going to come back and see if they're still in frequency with you. Not as a test, but like just to see if they can get back in. And at some point you have to say no, right? No, you can't come back. Like I said, this could be a person, it could be some other situation. But embrace that infinite gentleness, infinite gentleness. Be so gentle with yourself. And I just feel compelled to say this, even though it doesn't really have to do with what I'm reading here. I just got this feeling to say this. Remember that society corporations and stuff benefit from your shame. You're not young enough. Your skin's not like glass. You have cellulite. You have, imperfect this, imperfect that. That is a program meant to keep you in small energy, in scarcity mindset, and not good enough mentality that makes you susceptible to this kind of energy. So just remember that. I don't know. I just felt compelled to say that. I hope that resonated for somebody out there. Thank you for being here today. And please continue doing the great work. It makes a huge difference in the world. For every person who heals themselves, they help heal the world. So thank you so much for being here and for doing the great work. I'll see you next time. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. What is your soul asking you to release? I'm going to read your tea leaves in a moment, but you chose Our Lady with the moon at her feet. So with this, I'm getting the feeling of that in the past, you might have had a feeling that like you weren't strong in your feeling of sovereign energy, and you're ready to release those limiting beliefs around your sovereignty. Because I feel like there have been, you probably had a figure in your life when you were younger, and they might still be in your life, I don't know, who, I mean, it might reveal itself a little bit in a minute, who had sort of authoritarian energy. Or you might even live in a society, I mean, there's a lot of them around the world, that has authoritarian type energy to it. And so therefore, in situations where you are told basically that your sovereignty doesn't matter, and not just told, but shown over and over again that your sovereignty doesn't matter. So when that happens, you grow up not even knowing that sovereignty is an option, because it's never presented as an option. It's just presented as like it's sort of like that idea that if you were born into a certain room, or Plato's allegory of the cave or something, you're born into a certain room and you never see anything outside of it, you don't even know that exists. So think about all the things that are just programmed into you when you're young. And so you don't even know that there are alternatives. I remember I had a nephew and his husband come and visit one time and kind of see my life here on the Wilderness Preserve, and how, slow my days are, and how, I'm not chasing anything or doing anything like that. Like my life is creativity and rest and helping people and things like that, just being as gentle as I can with myself and others. And they were like, I did not realize this was an option for life. I was like, oh, yeah, it is. Alrighty, let's take a look. Let's see what your tea leaves have to say today. They're dropping a lot today. Let's see. Here I see like sort of like a primate, like maybe a monkey or an ape or something, reaching up and grabbing something from a tree. So what I'm getting from this is almost the idea of, oh, geez. The image on the top of the Sistine, on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, where Adam and God are like touching fingers and all this stuff. So basically the idea of the evolution from feeling like a purely physical being to understanding your sovereignty. Like you might even be a spiritual person and feel like, oh, I know I'm a spiritual being, but it's more like integrating it to a level that you feel, truly believe it. It's not a mantra. It's not it's not something you just repeat to yourself hoping that it will stick. It will finally stick. And actually here it's funny because I see a witch on a broom flying, and she's like holding a hat and just kind of swinging it around. So that feeling of, not really caring anymore. Like I feel the feeling of sort of like you were trained and taught to care so much, but you're ready to release that and step into true sovereignty. And you just didn't know like even before you might have felt like you were performing sovereignty, but it maybe not didn't hit the way it's starting to hit now, or the way it's going to be hitting soon for you. So yes, you are releasing those feelings. And let's see what's in your shadow with that. But the feeling that you have to do something to impress other people, that you have to be a certain way or do a certain thing or follow a certain script. Look at that. Yeah, your creativity awaits. True sovereignty is creative. It's like a creative gold mine. You get into flow. Some of the most beautiful pieces of artwork and stuff, they happen when people are in flow. Whatever your hobby is, whatever your joy is, playing. Oh, there's the tinkle tinkle of Annie's little feet. Static between worlds, confusion, energy, reset. What feels like noise is asking for stillness. So, the idea of getting into almost like, there's like kind of the buzzwords going on about like your villain phase or whatever. But the idea is that there's a very narrow definition of what's okay, and anything outside of that is villain. So I think people are just starting to embrace it rather than being like, oh my God, why do I have to put on all these masks and play all these weird games? If it makes, people are going to hate me anyway, no matter what I do. So like for the example, like for mothers or whatever, like, oh, she doesn't want to have children. She's terrible. And someone else will say, she had one child. She's terrible for leaving the child with one person, or having a single child. Oh, she had 3 kids. That's too many. She can't handle that way. So it didn't really matter what that person does. There's going to be some naysayers out there telling that person that they're doing it wrong. So I feel like a lot of people are entering this villain era, and it has to do with self-sovereignty and understanding that so many of us were raised to care so much about other people's opinions. I mean, there's even words in the culture like that, like cringe or something. Oh, that person, it's meant as a way to control people and keep them in those tiny boxes. Oh, if you're cringe, then, whatever, that means something different to everybody. So you can't make everyone happy. So people are really embracing the idea of just being themselves, and that's going to make them a bad guy to somebody, but understanding that that's not a you problem. If other people are going around villainizing you for just being your authentic self, for wearing colorful clothes, or for, whatever it is that makes you feel vibrant and alive, for painting, for doing really weird art, whatever it is, making weird music, whatever it is, your people out there will understand that. And when you step into your sovereignty, you attract that energy instead of the energy of naysayers and criticizers, right? Bouquet, compliments from an admirer. Needle and thread, a sincere wish will be granted. Look at that energy coming in right there. That is the energy of, once you are able to be like, you know what, F this. Why am I trying so hard with these facades? I'm rising into my true energy. I'm not going to, affirmations are great, but I'm rising in this energy. I'm going to truly embody it. And I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to be it, because you already are it. That's the big secret, right? You already are. But exactly like I said, compliments from an admirer, bouquet, a sincere wish will be granted. You will finally feel truly seen. You will finally feel truly seen. So in my life, reading cards for you, that's when I feel truly seen. I mean, obviously I have friends and all that, but that's because this is my passion. This is my Dharma work. This is the thing that I do just because. I do it because I care about other people, because I care about the growth and the healing of the world. And I believe that if one person is inspired into self-work and self-healing from my videos, even if I do 5,000 videos and only one person's inspired, that's good enough for me. And you know what? This makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled. It makes me feel like like this is my purpose. So this is where my sovereignty rises. Where does your sovereignty rise? It might not look conventional. It might not even look you know, indie conventional, because like, and I'll always say, oh, well, then you have to be an artist with blue. No, no, that's cool. All of that's cool, but you get to choose. It could be anything from building Lego to just making sure you take a long walk outside every day. What is it that brings you to life and helps you build in your sovereignty? Oh, there's an important message here about getting out of your head. And also, oh, that is on the card. I was like, did I splash some oil on there? Getting the help you need when you need it. And once again, this is a call, Three of Pentacles here. It's a call about finding your true people. I have this in my Cosmic Jester deck. I have a card that says something along the lines of like, if you wear a mask when you enter into a relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship, you have to wear that mask forever or that relationship will end. So the idea is that why are you still trying to build relationships while you're wearing a mask? Take the mask off. There are 8 billion people in this world. There are other people who are going to love the real you. Don't waste your time with people who don't just love the real you, right? Just move on and go to the next person. There's 8 billion people to get through. And guess what? You aren't going to have to go through nearly as many of that as that, right? Six of Cups. Oh, I love this card. It's like nostalgia, fun. Once again, find the people that are just fun, that make you feel fun. And that can look different ways. Like for me, for example, of course, I love throwing little tea parties and I love whimsical things. But I also like to get in these deep conversations about, I don't know, space-time continuum at 3 in the morning, and just talk until, or, just laughing over the stupidest jokes until we cry and things like that. That is the energy of your own power. You're scared of deception because you probably encountered it before. But remember the Queen, the Sovereign, and remember no genders in tarot, but this is an energy. So this sovereign energy that's coming out trusts yourself to step away at early red flags so that you don't end up in a situation with somebody who is deceptive, because you have been deceived in the past. That's part of this, what you're releasing is these kinds of fears. 1221, taking initiative. Change, optimism, joy, communication, messages, good news, expression, high vibes. Work with what you have and it will get you places. Count your blessings and acknowledge your dear ones. You will find inspiration and figure out a way forward. You might also be getting some good news soon. Well, good for you. Good for you. I feel in this pile like that, like in pile 1, it felt very much like the reckoning was really, really abrupt and painful. This one felt like this transition feels more like a slower burn. But I also feel like you're getting more stable on your feet quickly. I feel like 3 cards for this. This is my Cosmic Jester deck. It is, I was doing this on index cards for a long time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a deck printed because I love this so much. It is trickster energy, like a divine trickster kind of energy. So it cuts right to the chase and it doesn't hold back. So let's get a look at this. The reflection in the mirror would like to be included in your compassion. You spend so much time worried about other people and how they see you and how they perceive you and how you can help others and how you can make experiences in life magical for others, that sometimes you forget that you're supposed to be making it magical for yourself as well, right? It makes me think of a story I read. And it was about a woman talking about like this cultural festival that they held, and basically how it was the hardest day of her year, but her husband, it was like his favorite day of the year. And it was because she and the other moms were doing all the invisible labor, the cooking, the cleaning, the setup, the breakdown, and managing the children. And the children had all these performances and stuff. So it's the idea of, what are you accepting? You are between the worlds of who you were. See, this even looks like that, I'm going to think of the name of the painting 3 seconds after this video is done, but the something of Adam, whatever. But stepping between feels really precarious, right? But when you are standing on the moon in this divine feminine energy, the moon at your feet, think about the level of sovereignty, the level of divinity, the level of self-compassion, the level of self-compassion. You know, so much of it starts with that self-compassion, the stillness. You thought you were avoiding the cost, but you were accruing interest. You finally realized this, that this change, what you were meant to release so that you can move forward, was actually every day that you delayed it, it was costing you something, right? Yeah. The monster's favorite story was the one where you needed it. Now, in this case, the monster could have been a toxic relationship. It could have been a bad job. It could have been anything. The thing that robbed you of your feeling of sovereignty. You're never robbed of your sovereignty. You're just blinded to it. Or like I said, you don't even know that it's a possibility. The monster is cultural conditioning that tells you that you're never good enough so that you can't step into your sovereignty. But you're above that. You're moving past that. All right, beloved alchemists, continue the great work because every person who is working on healing themselves helps heal the world. And, you know, we just really, really need that right now. I think Brad Warner, he wrote the book Hardcore Zen. He said something like, people will try to save the world, but not even, I don't know, clean their room or something. So the idea being that a lot of times we look outward and we try to change and fix everything outward because we're so scared of what we'll actually have to face inward in a shadow work. So you being here and doing the shadow work is the great work, as we say in alchemy. All right, I'll see you next time. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. What is your soul asking you to release? We're going to look at your tea leaves in just a moment, but you chose Our Lady who prevents interference. I feel like I feel a very different energy in this pile than I did in the first two. It feels like a warm blanket covering a person who's been through so much. And it's like the tears about releasing processing and releasing some really, really heavy emotions, processing and releasing some very difficult things that you should never have had to deal with. And it feels like almost like this loving presence, this loving energy kind of coming down so that what happens next in your life, once you're able to release this pain, once you're able to integrate and move into the next phase of your life, you are protected during that process. No one can truly interfere with it. And so there's this feeling that in the past, no matter what you did, there were people who could pull your strings, right? There were people who could cause a lot of trouble for you, make everything a lot more difficult, right? But there was some point where you might have started realizing that they handed you the reins. They don't have, that person might not even be around them anymore. That job might be long gone where you were told you weren't good enough or you were called names or whatever. That could be long gone, but you might still be telling yourself that. So the idea is that the divine is going to cover you, right? Already is, and giving you an opportunity, a slowness, so that you can start rebuilding yourself without interference. It takes a long time sometimes for that to happen, but this is a call saying that you're releasing what is no longer serving you, and part of what's no longer serving you is you repeating what other people told you was wrong with you or bad with you or what you were supposed to do or who you were supposed to be. And now in the past, it felt like stuff kept getting hurled at you, but now there's an intervention here. Prevention of interference. Let's go ahead and take a look at your tea leaves. All righty, let me see. I always want to pick out the few images. I like to just pick about 2 or 3 so we can really focus. Here we have the Archangel Michael with a sword, a reiteration that you are protected during this next phase, that you've always been, you know, it's really hard because we have really bad things happen to us and we're like, why? I thought I was being protected. You know, people have free will as well. You know, it's one of those things in spirituality that's just really hard to reconcile sometimes. Here I see a seed kind of growing up into a plant. So it's young, but it is growing and it is thriving. So we have a seed and we have the Archangel Michael with his sword. And I guess I'll just do this one because I keep seeing it. It is a bull, almost like a minotaur, something like that. So I feel like with that, obviously protection. And I feel like the new seeds that you're planting, you're afraid because in the past, the seeds that you planted got mowed over or run down like a bull running in a china shop or something, like over and over again. You would build things so tenderly, so gently, and then someone would just come through stubbornly, maybe a Taurus, and just destroy it. But there's also with the Minotaur, there's a feeling of like a labyrinth, right? Like, so it feels like in your mind you were confused. It was probably very hard for you to get clarity. And I have a thing that I always say, which is basically if you're confused, that is a signal to step back, because it doesn't matter if you're confused because someone's manipulating you, somebody is immature, or you just don't have compatible communication styles. Confusion is painful. And if you ask someone and you still can't get clarity, that is a sign to step back so that you can gain clarity before you interact with this person or situation, right? People who like to keep you confused, you have to ask why. How do they benefit from your confusion? Ask that question so you can pull out this energy. Aww. And your shadow, you just have the heart of gold, don't you? You always see the best in people, and it's gotten you into a lot of trouble, right? Not like as in being taken advantage of, people, you pouring into other people who don't pour back into you. You have a peaceful, gentle heart. You have a heart in growth mindset. You have a growth mindset and a growth mindset in your heart. And you know that this is a precarious ladder, but you still create that beauty because you truly believe in agape, in love. You truly believe in love. And, you know, doorway number 2 is kind of like about coming into your villain energy. Or it might have been doorway number 1. I can't remember anything sometimes. And so the idea is that you can get into your villain energy and still maintain this gentle sweetness, because people will vilify you for holding healthy boundaries, right? But because you are a vulnerable person and you're so tender and stuff, you know, there is, I feel like, divine protection coming for you. No, make sure you're protecting yourself for real in the real world. Growth is so important. Boundaries are so important. You know, watch videos, consume media that builds your sovereignty, that helps you become your own guru, that makes sure that you are empowered in who you are. You know, it's easy to want, when you have such a gentle heart, to outsource this to another person or like a tarot reader or something. But remember, the end of the day, we're just here to give you advice. You are it. You are the thing you want. You are the thing you need. You are the beautiful soul who is your soulmate. And the interference, some of it's coming from inside the house because it was programmed there. And you're being invited to take the path inward. It's going to take a lot of courage. so that you can trust your intuition and know that you're not going to fall prey to the kinds of people who hurt you in the past, right? It takes work. It takes time. It's painful. We've been getting a lot of spiral imagery in these readings today because I think there's a reminder in all of these that the path to healing and growth is not a straight path. It is a spiral. I always think of it like this. If growth is a mountain and you're trying to get to the top, right? People will try to climb straight up, but really you spiral around the mountain and you hit all the paths. You see all the things. You get the entire experience. So acting like getting to the apex as fast as possible, A, you can never get to the apex in one life, right? But B, if you aren't enjoying the journey, if the journey is not bringing you closer to your greatest peace and your greatest joy and laughter and all that, then what is the point, right? Struggle love, struggle life. These are lies. These are these are things we were forced into. These are ideologies that we were raised with, and it's not compatible with a gentle heart. Broken bridge, unsuccessful outcome to a problem. Yeah. Your heart was broken so many times. You are not the kind of person who likes burning bridges, but other people have forced you to burn bridges. And you don't like that you're put in that situation when you are a gentle soul and you don't want to do that. But people will, you'll tolerate so much that a lot of times it has to get to this place before you'll step away. And that's not a reflection on you being a bad person or anything. It just means that you were taught some things that are not really healthy for you, right? Like someone will try to make you do something against your will. What did I say? You have a vulnerable kind of energy because you have such a sweet heart. And I know people like this. I am one of these people. And so I totally get it. But the seed that you've planted, the one that's growing, that's protected by Archangel Michael, it is you coming into a place of understanding. I'm getting that image of the Minotaur in the labyrinth again. That you're going to put boundaries up that confuse people who want to hurt you. If you don't want to change your heart, you can't. If you're vulnerable, sometimes the only thing you can do is build the correct protection around yourself, right? So the idea is that you've always been trying to be like, I need to change, I need to change, I need to change. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just need to build better barriers. Maybe you just need to build better boundaries. This is your shadow. Your shadow is that you're so wonderful, but you feel so bad about yourself. You feel like the things that have happened to you are your fault when they were real, the things that were other people's fault, that stuff that happened to you, you feel like it's your fault and you feel shame around it. Shame is just a control tool. Things that other people did to you is not your shame. But think about what kind of extraordinary person has this in their shadow. 0440, the gut feeling. Look at that. Intuition again. Intuition, betrayal, pessimism, relating, value, insight, increased perception, love, and monogamy. Follow your gut. It's more than just a feeling. Be real with people and focus on meaningful relationships. Remember, you also must bring value to the table. Treat others with respect or else karma will bite you. 3 is a crowd. Okay, so for this, I feel like something that you've probably noticed, first of all, when you are this vulnerable person and you are always seeing the best in people, you definitely learn to cancel out your intuition, but you actually have extremely sharp intuition and you know that, but it becomes confused with all this old programming. So therefore, a lot of times you'll question your intuition. The first intuition you get about somebody, you'll be like, oh, that's just me being over. And then later you'll find out that that was real. And after you've gone through all this betrayal and all this extra pain. Yes, you are the second card, the second one was Our Lady with the moon at her feet. Look at that. the moon at her feet, high priestess energy, coming into yourself, protecting yourself, calling on the higher powers, the divine feminine, to come in and hold you, right? You are so strong. People often mistake sweetness for weakness. It takes the strongest kind of person to live in a world like this with this kind of heart and not be broken and not be terrorized and not be constantly crying. You're so strong. The Hierophant. Look at this, is some powerful energy. Both the High Priestess and the Hierophant, the two sides of the spiritual coin, really. Boundaries, peace, listening to your intuition, practically applying boundaries. The World. Look at all major arcana. This is a huge shift for you. I feel like that maybe in the past you have felt like there's been so many situations where you were the victim or you felt like the victim, and now you are transmuting that into that happened to me and it shaped me, but now it's my power. I'm taking it back, right? I'm not going to do anything against my will, and I'm going to reflect on the patterns in my subconscious, the things that I was taught that make me want to give my will to someone else, to give my power away, and I'm going to stop. This cycle ends now. And look, that little seed, the tree that you're holding, right? Eight of Wands. This is happening faster than you expect. In fact, like it might even feel like you had been in this energy for ages and ages, and then suddenly it's just like an epiphany, like, oh, it got quiet for a minute. And then that's when the inner voices start attacking, right? The ones that were programmed. And so now is your time to work through and transmute through all of that. And I mean, this is insanely powerful energy, right? Your boundaries, bubble your boundaries, right? Bubble your boundaries. Listen to your intuition. Let it be silent and still long enough. You are so brave for facing this with the strength and courage coming up here. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your magnificence. This came up in another pile as well. Just because somebody can knock at the door doesn't mean you need to let them in. 8 billion people in this world. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your magnificence. Some people are just energy vampires and they want a front row seat so they can take. And you are so willing to give that you need to be so particular, or you're going to just be finding broken heart after broken bridge after broken hopes over and over again, right? That path inward, focus on yourself. Your inner child has filed a complaint concerning the lack of whimsy. This is why it's in your shadow as well, right? Because you have a whimsical, fun spirit, but somewhere down the line, you were made to feel small because of it. You were made to feel like it was silly or stupid. I mean, society itself makes fun of people who are whimsical. They call them childish. But we have to remember with archetypes, right? Carl Jung and his archetypes. Every archetype has its light and shadow. Same thing in the tree of life. You have the positive or healthy, balanced version of all the Sephiroth or the energy centers. And then there is the distortion or the Cliffoth part of it, right? So with everything in life, there are two sides. So for example, with this inner child thing, you have the Puer Eternus, which is the eternal child. The positive aspect is being whimsical, having tea parties, always seeing the world with such a heart for wonder and fascination, feeling so light and wonderful about life that everything becomes play, right? That even just walking out the door, you look at the sky and you're just so happy and in love with life, right? And then there is Puer Eternus, the eternal child, who is Peter Pan syndrome, who is the grown-up who has the emotional capacity of a child, who does not grow past, 8, 12, 15 in their emotional growth. Now, of course, that kind of inner child, I mean, that kind of child needs, just like a child needs loving discipline alongside play, right? So a person who suffers from Peter Pan syndrome was just given everything they wanted, and they were never given any restrictions. And so that causes a completely different issue, right? But for you, you are emotionally mature. You are such a beautiful emotional being, right? You probably feel highly sensitive. You probably see and feel things a lot deeper. A lot of you are probably Pisces, Cancer energy, feeling some of that here. Have fun without apologies. Get back in touch with that energy. Some of you probably loved to cloud gaze. Go cloud gazing again. See what you see. The mystery of existence continues alongside your laundry. Ah, yes. It's all magic and it's all there waiting for you. And because you had to deal with all this interference in the past and now that's getting released, you're going to have time for this. And this is actually a map for you. This is how you're going to do it because you're going to be dealing with a lot of big feelings about what happened in the past and about what to do with the empty space now that the interference is being taken away. So just remember, stay fascinated. Keep your inner child happy. Start trusting your intuition. The journey inward is going to be very painful. So that's why you have to make sure to balance it with play. Okay? Thank you so much for doing the great work. I know I say this all the time, but people think that doing these things, this shadow work and stuff, it's not just for you. It is for you. But one person who works on this and heals themselves helps heal the world, because everyone you talk to and stuff, you're just going to move differently through life. So thank you so much for doing the great work, and thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.